I think that's all we need you for, George. I know you're anxious to make a train.
I have a taxi waiting downstairs.
I want the board to know that George gave up his trip to Europe to help straighten things out these past few months. Good luck to you at school, George.
Thanks.
Wait, stop. Hold the story. I just realized you nice listeners don't quite know what's going on here. Let me introduce myself. I'm Mary, and this event is taking place at the Bailey Building and Loan in Bedford Falls. The two men you just heard were the chairman of the board of directors and Mr. George Bailey. Recently, George's father, Peter Bailey, one of the founders of the Building and Loan, passed away. And as you just heard, George stayed with the business to help smooth things over before going off to college.
Now we come to the real purpose of this meeting, to appoint a successor to our dear friend Peter Bailey.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to get to my real purpose.
Now that man there is Old Man Potter, the richest and nastiest man in town. He has a financial foothold almost everywhere around here and has been trying to take over the Building and Loan for years. Or destroy it, if he can't get his claws in it.
Wait just a minute now.
Wait for what? I claim this institution is not necessary to this town. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to dissolve this institution and to turn its assets and liabilities over to the receiver.
George, you here with that buzzard?
That was George's Uncle Billy, Peter's brother and co-founder of the business. He's a sweetheart, but in his old age is becoming more forgetful. Poor thing.
Very well. The motion will be discussed. But before you go, George, I'm sure the whole board wishes to express its deep sorrow at the passing of Peter Bailey.
Thank you very much.
It was his faith and devotion that are responsible for this organization.
I'll go further than that. I'll say that to the public, Peter Bailey was the Building and Loan.
Oh, that's fine coming from you, considering you probably drove him to his grave.
Peter Bailey was not a businessman. That's what killed him. Oh, I don't mean any disrespect to him, God rest his soul. He was a man of high ideals, so-called, but ideals without common sense can ruin this town. Now you take this loan here to Ernie Bishop. You know, that fellow sits around all day on his brains in his taxi. You know, I happen to know the bank turned down this loan, but he comes here and we're building him a house worth $5,000. Why?
Well, I handled that, Mr. Potter. You have all his papers there. His salary, his insurance. I can personally vouch for his character.
You see? If you shoot pool with some employee here, you can come and borrow money. What does that get us? A discontented, lazy rabble instead of a thrifty working class. And all because a few starry-eyed dreamers like Peter Bailey stir them up and fill their heads with a lot of impossible ideas. Now I say
Just a minute now. Hold on, Mr. Potter. You're right when you say my father was no businessman, but neither you nor anybody else can say anything against his character. Why, in the 25 years since he and Uncle Billy started this thing, he never once thought of himself. People were human beings to him. But to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle. Well, in my book, he died richer than you'll ever be.
I'm not interested in your book. I'm talking about the Building and Loan.
I know very well what you're talking about. You're talking about something you can't get your fingers on, and it's galling you. Well, I've said too much. You're the board here. You do what you want with this thing. Just one more thing, though. This town needs this measly one-horse institution, if only to have some place where people can come without crawling to Potter.
Sentimental hogwash. I want my motion.
Boy, oh boy, that was telling him, George, old boy. I mean, we're being voted out of business after 25 years. Easy come, easy go. Hey, you missed your train. You're a week late for school already. Go on.
What's going on in there?
Oh, never mind. Don't worry about that. They're putting us out of business, so what? I can get another job. I'm only 55.
56.
Go on. Hey, look, you gave up your boat trip. Now you don't want to miss college too, do you? George, they voted Potter down. They want to keep it going. But they've got one condition, only one condition.
What's that?
That's the best part of it. They've appointed George here as executive secretary to take his father's place.
Oh, no, but Uncle Billy...
You can keep him on. That's all right. A secretary you can hire anyone you'd like.
Sir, now let's get this thing straight. I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now. I'm going to school. This is my last chance. Uncle Billy here, he's your man.
But George, they'll vote with Potter otherwise.
George stayed, of course, and gave his college money to his brother Harry. All of his friends started moving on from Bedford Falls too, and while seeing everyone move on to bigger and better things upset George, his staying in town led to one of the happiest days of his life. And mine too. This is where I enter the story.
So where are we going on this here honeymoon? Look at this. There's the kitty, Mary. Here, come and count it.
$2,000? I feel like a bootlegger's wife.
You know what we're going to do? We're gonna shoot the works. A whole week in New York, a whole week in Bermuda, the highest hotels, the oldest champagne, the richest caviar, the hottest music, and the prettiest wife. Looks like something funny's going over at the bank. Everybody! Everybody! What's going on here? Tom? Mrs. Thompson? What's the matter? Can't you get in? Now, just give me a second, folks, to get my head around all this. What is this, Uncle Billy, a holiday?
George,
Why didn't you call me? What's going on here?
I just did, but they said you left. This is a pickle, George. This is a pickle.
All right now, what happened? How did it start?
How does anything like this ever start? All I know is the bank called our loan.
When?
About an hour ago, I had to hand over all our cash.
All of it?
Every cent of it. And it was still less than we owe.
Holy mackerel.
And then I got scared, George, and closed the doors. Hello? George, it's Potter.
Hello?
George, there's a rumor around town that you've closed your doors. Is that true? No? Oh, well, I'm very glad to hear that. George, are you all right? Do you need any police?
Police? What for?
Well, mobs get pretty ugly sometimes, you know. George, I'm going all out to help in this crisis. I've just guaranteed the bank sufficient funds to meet their needs. They'll close up for a week and then reopen.
What's he saying?
He just took over the bank.
I may lose a fortune, but I'm willing to guarantee your people too. Just tell them to bring their shares over here, and I will pay them 50 cents on the dollar.
Ah, you never miss a trick, do you, Potter? Well, you're gonna miss out on this one.
George, what's going on?
George, I want my money back.
I have some news, folks. I've just talked to Old Man Potter, and he's guaranteed cash payments at the bank. The bank's gonna reopen next week.
But George, I got my money here.
Did he guarantee this place?
Well, no, Tom. I didn't even ask him. We don't need Potter over here.
I'll take mine now.
No, but you're thinking of this place all wrong. As if I had the money back in a safe. The money's not here. Your money's in Joe's house, right next to yours, and in the Kennedy's house, and Mrs. Macklin's house, and 100 others. Why, you're lending them the money to build. Then they're gonna pay you back when the best they can. Now, what are you going to do? Foreclose on them?
I got $242 in here, and $242 isn't going to break anybody.
Okay, Tom, all right. Here you are. You signed this, you'll get your money back in 60 days.
60 days?
Well, now that's what you agreed to when you bought your shares.
Well, how much will Potter pay?
I mean, he told me 50 cents on the dollar, but Tom, you have to stick to your original agreement. Now give us 60 days on this.
Are you going to Potter's?
Better to get half than to get nothing.
Tom! Mrs. Thompson! Now wait, now listen to me! I beg of you not to do this thing. If Potter gets hold of this building and loan, there'll never be any decent house built in this town again. He's already got charge of the bank, the bus line, the department stores, and now he's after us. Why? Because we're cutting in on his business, that's why. Don't you see what's happening? Potter isn't selling, Potter's buying. And why? Because we're panicky and he's not. Now we can get through this thing all right, but we've got to have faith in each other.
But my husband hasn't worked in over a year. I need money. How am I going to live until the bank reopens?
I've got doctor's bills to pay. I need cash. Can't feed my kids on faith.
How much do you need?
Hey now, I just got $2,000. This'll tide us over until the bank reopens. All right, Tom, how much do you need?
$242.
Oh, please, Tom, how much just to tide you over until the bank reopens?
I'll take $242.
All right, fine, there you are now.
That'll close my account.
Your account's still here. That's a loan. Good, fine now, that's for you. All right, Miss Thompson, how much do you want?
But it's your wedding money, George.
Never mind that. How much do you want?
Could I have $1,750?
So, oh, bless your heart, of course you can have it.
And I'll sign a paper.
You don't have to sign anything. I know you'll pay it back when you can. That's okay. All right, everybody, let's keep this going now.
We're gonna make it, George. They'll never close us today.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1! Bingo! We made it! Oh, look, we still got $2 left. Uncle Billy, some glasses, and the finest booze you got. A toast. A toast to Papa Dollar and Mama Dollar. And if you want a building and loan, you better have a family real quick. Look, Mr. Potter, it's no skin off my nose. I'm just your little rent collector. But you can't laugh off this Bailey Park anymore. Here, look at it. 15 years ago, half a dozen houses stuck here and there. There's an old cemetery, squirrels, some buttercups, daisies. Used to hunt rabbits there myself. Look at it today. Dozens of the prettiest little homes you ever saw. 90% owned by the suckers who used to pay rent to you. Your Potter's Field, my dear Mr. Employer, is becoming just that. And are the locals making with those David and Goliath wisecracks?
Oh, they are they? Even though they know the Baileys haven't made a dime out of it.
You know very well why. The Baileys were all chumps. Every one of these homes is worth twice what it cost to build and loan to build. If I were you, Mr. Potter.
Well, you're not me.
As I say, it's no skin off my nose. But one of these days, this bright young man is going to ask George Bailey for a job.
The Bailey family has been a boil on my neck long enough.
Yes, sir?
Have someone get George Bailey to my office at once.
Right away, sir.
Thank you, sir. Quite the cigar, Mr. Potter.
You like it? I'll send you a box.
Well, I suppose I'll find out sooner or later. But just what exactly did you want to see me about?
George, you know just as well as I do that I run practically everything in this town but the Bailey Building and Loan. You know also that for a number of years I've been trying to get control of it. Or kill it. But I haven't been able to do it. You have been stopping me. In fact, you have beaten me, George. You saved the Building and Loan, and I saved all the rest.
Yes, well, most people would say you stole all the rest.
Ah, the envious ones say that, George, the suckers. Now, I have stated my side very frankly. Now, let's look at your side. Young man, 27, 28, married, making, say, 40 a week.
45.
45. Out of which, after supporting your mother and paying your bills, you're able to keep, say, 10. If you skimp. A child or two comes along and you won't even be able to save the 10. Now, if this young man of 28 was a common yokel, I'd say he was doing just fine. But George Bailey is an intelligent, smart, ambitious young man who hates the Building and Loan almost as much as I do. A young man who's been dying to get out on his own ever since he was born. A young man who has to sit by and watch his friends go places because he's trapped. Do I paint a correct picture? Or do I exaggerate?
Now, what's your point, Mr. Potter?
My point My point is I want to hire you.
Hire me.
I want you to manage my affairs, run my properties. George, I'll start you out at $20,000 a year.
$20,000 a year?
You wouldn't mind living in the nicest house in town? Buying your wife a lot of fine clothes, a couple of business trips to New York a year, maybe once in a while Europe? You wouldn't mind that, would you, George?
Would I? You're not talking to somebody else around here, are you? You know this is me. You remember me, George Bailey.
Oh, yes, George Bailey, whose ship has just come in, providing he has brains enough to climb on board.
Well, what about the building and loan?
Oh, confounded man! Are you afraid of success? I'm offering you a 3-year contract at $20,000 a year starting today. Is it a deal, or isn't it?
Well, Mr. Potter, I know I ought to jump at the chance, but I wonder if it would be possible for you to give me 24 hours to think it over.
Sure. You go home now and talk about it to your wife. In the meantime, I'll draw up the papers.
Okay, Mr. Potter. No, wait a minute here! I don't have to talk to anybody! I know right now, and the answer is no! No, doggone it! You sit around here and you spin your little webs and you think the whole world revolves around you and your money. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter. In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider.
This wasn't the end of George and Potter's rivalry. In the years that followed, George came home later and later every night from the office to make ends meet. Now it's Christmas Eve, things have settled down, and the federal bank examiner, Mr. Carter, is at the business to review their accounts before the end of the season.
Mr. Bailey.
Oh, Mr. Carter, I'm sorry. I'll be right with you. Uncle Billy? Uncle Billy? Uncle Billy? What's going on? The bank examiner's here, and
He's here?
He wants the accounts payable. What's the matter with you?
Oh, George, come in and shut the door. George, I don't know what happened, but I lost all the money.
You lost the money? What did you do? Did you buy anything?
Nothing. Not even a stick of gum.
All right. We'll go over every step you took since you left the house. Now, did you go to the bank with the $8,000?
Of course, George. Right on time, too.
Did you put the money in your pocket?
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe? I don't want maybe, Uncle Billy. We've got to find that money.
I've been all over, George. I can't remember. I just can't.
Listen to me. Think.
I can't think anymore, George. I can't think anymore. It hurts.
Where's that money, you stupid, silly old fool? Where's the money? Do you realize what this means? It means bankruptcy and scandal and prison. That's what it means. One of us is going to jail. Well, it's not going to be me.
George wandered aimlessly around town thinking how he can make up the money. The $8,000 Uncle Billy lost was quite a sum. There was only one person in town with that kind of money. Old Man Potter.
I'm in trouble, Mr. Potter. I need help. Through some sort of accident, my company is short in their accounts. The bank examiner's up there today. I've got to raise $8,000 immediately. Please help me, Mr. Potter. Help me, won't you please? I'll pay you any sort of bonus on the loan, any interest. If you still want the building and loan, why
George, could it possibly be there's a slight discrepancy in the books?
No, sir, there's nothing wrong with the books. I've just misplaced $8,000. I can't find it anywhere.
You misplaced $8,000?
Yes, sir.
Have you notified the police?
No, sir. I don't want the publicity. My brother Harry's homecoming's tomorrow.
They're gonna believe that one. What have you been doing, George? Playing the market with the company's money?
No, sir. No, I haven't.
What is it? A woman, then?
What?
Not that it makes any difference to me, but why did you come to me? What about all of your other friends?
They don't have that kind of money, Mr. Potter. You know that. You're the only one in town who can help me.
I see. I've suddenly become quite important. What kind of security would I have, George? Have you got any stocks,
No, sir.
bonds, real estate? Collateral of any kind?
I have some life insurance, a $15,000 policy.
Yes. How much is your equity in it?
$500.
Look at you. You used to be so cocky. You were gonna go out and conquer the world. You once called me a warped, frustrated old man. What are you but a warped, frustrated young man? No securities, no stocks, no bonds, nothing. You're worth more dead than alive. But I'll tell you what I'm gonna do for you, George. Since the state examiner is still here, I'm gonna swear out a warrant for your arrest. All right, George, go ahead. You can't hide in a little town like this.
God, dear Father in heaven, I'm not a praying man, but if you're up there and you can hear me, show me the way. I'm at the end of my rope. Show me the way, God.
Mr. Bailey, there's a deficit.
I know. $8,000.
Mr. Bailey, I've got the sheriff outside with a paper there.
I'll bet it's a warrant for my arrest.
George? Darling, where have you been?
Mary! Oh, Mary, you have no idea what's happened to me.
You have no idea what's happened. Oh, George, come now to the living room. They're on their way. Come on in here now. You stand right over there by the tree. Right there. And don't move. Don't move. I hear them now. George, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Come in, Uncle Billy. Everybody, in here.
Isn't it wonderful? Mary did it, George. Mary did it. She told a few people you were in trouble, and they scattered all over town collecting money. Didn't ask any questions, just said, if George is in trouble, count on me. You never saw anything like it. Here you go, George. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, George.
Many happy returns, George. Mr. Bailey, after reviewing the generous amount benefacted by your community, I'd say your deficit is covered, and I'll clear up that warrant business, too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Carter. Oh my gosh, Harry! It's my brother Harry, everyone!
Hiya, George. Merry Christmas. Everyone! Everyone! A toast. To my big brother, George. The richest man in town.